the road for Platinum Games was rocky for quite some time. After the studio was founded by Devil May Cry and Resident Evil veterans, they quickly became favorites among action game fans, especially thanks to titles like Metal Gear Rising, Vanquish and of course Bayonetta. Then with Nier Automata, the first commercial hit in 2017. But even then and afterwards they developed many so-so projects for other publishers. The big Xbox game Scalebound was cancelled. Then in 2022 came the total failure of the live service game Babylon's Fall with Square Enix. Much hope was therefore placed on Bayonetta 3, which was announced back in 2017, but afterwards they went into radio silence for almost half a decade. Which is why people were worried about Bayonetta as well, which after all put Platinum Games on the radar for many in the first place. Reminder, Bayonetta was the spiritual successor to Devil May Cry, enhancing the combat-focused action adventures with mechanics like dodging slowdowns and exchanging the edgy demon setting for Sailor Moon on crack. The eponymous Bayonetta is a witch who summons grotesque monsters with her hair to maltreat angels, and like her bodies doesn't care much for gravity or other logic. Then the third game put all worries to rest. Platinum still had it in them for their flagship IPs. Even if it wasn't completely flawless despite its top ratings, the Switch couldn't quite deliver the necessary graphical splendor, and they kinda destroyed the character of Bayonetta a bit story-wise. Oh well, still. The third game is as pompous and nonsensical as ever. During and in between the hack and slay gameplay, giant monsters crush major cities, missiles are always on the agenda, and new weapons include fat cats vomiting bicycles and Bayonetta as a locomotive. It feels like this is where the ideas from the cancelled Dragon Summoner game Scalebound were moved to, because what makes Bayonetta 3 stand out are the giant monsters integrated into the old battle system, which could now be summoned in real time. Cut to the end of 2022. Before fans could even process the comeback after 5 years of radio silence, Platinum already pushed out the next Bayonetta title, Bayonetta Origins. In fact, the game was already teased in Bayonetta 3, if you picked up all the secrets. For veterans, this took some time getting used to. Instead of crazy action with an age rating of 18+, we got a colorful fairy tale for which newer developers at Platinum were allowed to bring in ideas. The fights are still in focus, but with a kid-friendly watercolor look and bird's-eye perspective, which makes it much tamer than usual. Plus the Metroidvania-esque map requires more exploration and puzzling, kinda in the vein of a brother Tale of Two Sons or the old Mario and Luigi games. However, I think we should be quite happy when Platinum tries something new. Bayonetta was almost 15 years old when Origins was released, and since then they've kinda exhausted their core game design. Sure, the settings were different, but just in terms of the flow and feel of the battles, Bayonetta, Metal Gear Rising, Astral Chain, their Transformers game and even Nier Automata felt quite samey. Yet Platinum Games was not only created from veterans of Devil May Cry, but also from Okami or Beautiful Joe, which were not only graphically as colorful and experimental as Bayonetta Origins, but also anything but Devil May Cry clones in terms of gameplay. First, the game actually channels the very old Platinum Games roots, even if it doesn't look like it.